guys, we are back. Okay, 1 sec. Sorry, took a little bit. Just for a second. Okay, here we are. Seized his snout and held it shut. She raised one tail and her ears twitching. "What's that?" she whispered. He tried to swivel his head around, but Tsunami's grip was way too tight. He strained his ears to listen. Something was crashing through the forest toward them. "Not big enough to be a dragon," Tsunami said. Tsunami whispered, "I think." Now Clay could hear a huffing, panting sound and the cracking of branches, a sound more prey than predator. He pried Tsunami's claws off his snout and whispered, "Maybe we can eat it." They couldn't rescue the other dragonettes until sunrise anyway, and he wanted to test his hunting skills outside the caves. A short, pale creature stumbled into the moonlit clearing in front of them. The top of its furry head was barely as high as Clay's shoulder. It had two long, thin legs and two dangling arms that ended in floppy, clawless talons. One arm held something pointy like a giant dragon's claw, and the other was wrapped around a bulky sack. Swad, Tsunami, and Clay dropped everything it was holding and shrieked a long, high-pitched note like the birds Clay had sometimes heard through the sky hole. "It's a scavenger," Tsunami cried with daylight. "Look, Clay, our first time outside, and we're already seeing a real, live scavenger." That was the first page, chapter 10. "It's so little," Clay said. "And look, it's scavenging something right now." He reached out to poke the bulky sack. The creature screamed again, backing away and covering its head with its arm. "I thought they'd be scarier," Snowy said, disappointed. She lowered her snout to peer at it. "One of these killed Queen Oasis, right?" "Really?" She picked up the metal claw it had been carrying, which was about 4 times as long as a regular dragon claw. "I guess these are pretty sharp, but still, must have been some kind of unlucky accident." "Can we eat it?" Clay asked. His tongue flicked out and in. "Starflake says they're endangered," Snowy said. "But I say it's their fault we're all in this war, so eat as many as you like." She swung the claw in a circle and looked down at the scavenger. The scavenger was gibbering strange noises at them, waving its arms at the sack and the claw. Some of its movements were almost dragon-like, as if it was trying to communicate with them. Maybe it wants us to have whatever's in here," Clay said. After the snack, he upended it, and a pile of jewels and trinkets tumbled out. bouncing and sparkling across the grass. Clay saw 3 large rubies and a scattering of white diamonds among the gold ship's treasure. Snowy cried. She picked up a silver metal lion with a spiral carved into it, studded with tiny sapphires. Glory would love that, Clay said. So would I, Snowy said. I know you like bringing her pretty things to cheer her up, but I saw this first. All right, Clay said. Tell me if you know how to say this word. Diplom. Atically. Maybe something else then. Can we keep all of this treasure? Certainly not, said a new voice. Not unless you want to fight me for it, which I don't advise. An orange skywing dragon, slightly bigger than Clay, landed soundlessly in the clearing behind the scavenger. Rafts of smoke coiled around her horns. The scavenger shrieked again. She bent down and bit off his head. Blech, she said, spitting it out again immediately. The head bounced across the grass as the body slowly toppled over, blood pouring out of its neck. Now, that's just unfair, said the orange dragon. First of all, thieves are always trying to steal my beautiful treasure, and then they aren't even delicious when I catch them. She poked the body, all stringy and tasting like fish. Yuck. Clay took a step back from the spreading pool of blood. He didn't feel hungry anymore. Who are you? Snowy said. She asked. She was turning the medallion over between her claws as if she wondered whether it might be worth fighting for. The orange dragon stared at her, her yellow eyes narrowing to stilts. Clay knows that a fine coat of golden chain mail hung with rubies and amber drops was fitted around the dragon's torso. A row of tiny rubies was embedded between the scales over each of her eyes, and more like rubies. We're almost at the next chapter already. Edged the top of her wings. Whoever she was, she had a lot of treasure, which meant she must be important. You don't know who I am, the strange dragon says. How upsetting. I'm really very hurt. Either I need to get out more, or you're not a very good spy, are you, Sealing? I'm not a spy, Snowy said. We don't even know where we are. We've been held prisoner, kind of, and we just escaped. The orange dragon tilted her head at Clay. A Sealing and a muddling together, she said. Let's see. I know you're not from my dungeons, unless I'm getting horribly forgetful. So who was holding you? Blaze? I don't think she has prison camps. Wouldn't fit with her everybody love me act. I took another step back. He didn't like the sound of a dragon who had their own dungeons. Tsunami, he said quietly, just give her back the treasure and let's go. Medwin, using his head, said the orange dragon. You don't see that very often. She slid menacingly toward Tsunami, stepping right through the scavenger's blood and leaving red claw prints on the glass. Small flames flickered in her nostrils, and a steady stream of white smoke poured out and gathered more thickly around her horns. All right, Snow said, holding up the meddling. We don't want any trouble. Oh, neither do I, said the orange dragon. That's why it makes me so sad when trouble keeps coming to me. She reached out and grabbed Sonora's tongue. With the meddling still in it, squeezing hard, Clay started forward, but the strange dragon shot a bolt of flame at him, so he had to duck back. She glared at Snowy. Nobody touches my treasure. We didn't know, Snowy protested. We don't even know who you are. Oh, the dragon hissed. Didn't I say my name is Scarlet? I highly recommend you call me Your Majesty if you want to live. Clay inhaled sharply. Even he recognized that name. They were standing face to face with the Queen of the Skywings. Chapter 11. She was smaller than he had expected, smaller than Kestrel, but Clay knew they wouldn't underestimate the Skywing Queen. She'd held on to her power for 30 years. Excuse me. Desperate, 14, brave, foolish, extremely died. Now challengers. She was one of the longest lived and deadliest queens in Pura. Not to mention the worst possible dragons to get her claws on the Dragnotes of Destiny, especially since she was allied with Byrne, who hated the prophecy, as he destroyed the Skywing Egg 6 years ago. Clay tried to remember anything else they'd learned about Scarlet, and he could think was scary. Queen Scarlet let go of Tsunami's talons and slipped meddling over her own neck. She turned and ran one claw down Clay's nose. Now you, Mudwing, make me curious. We're on the same side, so why didn't you recognize me? Like I said, Snow stirred. Queen Sarah silenced her with a flick of her tail. I'd like to hear the Mudwing speak, she said, all rumbly and deep and nervous. Clay stammered. We've been underground a while. Kind of always. Snowy made a face at him, but behind the Queen's back, which she guessed meant he shouldn't give too much away. But what he was supposed to say? He glanced up at the mountains looming overhead and realized that they were outlined with a golden glow. The sun was coming up. They needed to go rescue their friends, and fast. before Kestrel took out the anger on the Dragonite she could find. "We're just passing through," he said. The Queen Scarlet, the rows of rubies over the Queen's eyes arched disbelievingly. "I mean, it was an honor to me. It was very terrifying," was the only word he could think of. "We have to go," he blurted. "Already?" said the Queen. "But that's heartbreaking. I hate being abandoned mid-conversation. There's so much more I wanted to know about you." She brushed the tip of her claw along the bottom of Clay's chin. "I think the only place you should go is back to my palace in the sky. Doesn't that sound thrilling?" "Don't say no. It'll hurt my feelings. You're just what I've been looking for." Clay had no idea what that meant, but he was too petrified to respond anyway. He stared up into her unfriendly amber eyes, thinking for the first time in his life, maybe Kestrel was right about everything, most especially about staying underground and avoiding the bad dragons out in the world. Alright, I have to go. See you later. Peace!